This is a brief tutorial of the game Wondrous Creatures as played on Board Game Arena. Wondrous Creatures is a worker placement tableau building game where you are placing out your workers to get resources so that you can place out your cards, build up a reserve that will eventually score you various achievements, which give you points and push towards the end of the game. Again, I am going to do a brief overview for a few minutes, and then we'll go into more details about the various cards, placements, and other types of mechanics of this game. So as I said, this is a worker placement game with card building and tableau building. You have three of these workers that take up 2 slots on the map, and you'll start off with a hand of cards that you'll play, and you'll continue to draw cards. This is the cards that are available to draw from, and then each of you will continue to place cards on your turn. You will also place eggs that can be used, all in the purpose of getting points and getting achievements. And these are kind of the main goals of the game. And when you get an achievement, you get a trophy. And once those trophies run out, that triggers the end of the game. So on your turn, you can do one of 4 things. You can place a worker. When you place a worker, you choose 2 spaces. They can be these plain spaces, and they can be these mountain spaces. They cannot be any of the water or the resource spaces. And if you overlap at all with a mountain, whether once or twice, you have to pay a resource to go there. But then when you go, you get to choose resources or cards of any touching resource space. So for instance, this player here in these 2 spots, and so they get 3 blue, and they could take 3 of those blue resources, or they could take blue resources plus cards that match that resource type. There aren't any here currently on the board, but for instance, this player here has access to these 2 yellow resources, and so maybe they want, instead of flowers, they want cards, so they could take these 2 cards instead of 2 resources, or they could take 1 resource and 1 card. You can also use your nets to do special actions that are in these little circles here, or to catch eggs that are nearby. Like if someone places here, they could catch this egg with a net. You can have up to 3 nets, and then when you use them, you have to regain them. That is putting your worker down to get resources and new cards. You can also play cards on your turn. That's the second thing you can do. You can play 1 or 2 cards, and the cards have a cost to them that make up some sort of combination of the 4 resources that you have. You can see you can have up to 6 of each, and they do various things. Some of them do things right away, some of them do things at the end of the game, some are ongoing abilities, and so on and so forth. Again, you can play up to 2. You don't have to, but you play at least one on your turn, and you can play up to 2 cards by paying their full costs. The third thing that you can do is claim an achievement. These are the various achievements that are available. These will change slightly with each game, and they can do various things like looking for different tags on the animals that you play out, or the creatures that you play out, or just having general 14 creatures, or 2 of each type of card, and so on and so forth. That is your full turn, is claiming that with one of your little trophies here. You get the benefit along with it. And when you are claiming these, you can use eggs alongside of them. You do have to hatch those eggs, and then you can't use them again unless you unhatch them. And then the final thing you can do, if you have all 3 of your workers out, like I have, these are my 3 yellow workers out, I can do a recharge action where I pull all of my workers back. This moves to the right, and then a few things happen. If you get a net in this case, but in some cases you will sweep, which means you clear the supply, or you may add more eggs to the map, so on and so forth. And this will kind of pace the game out. And as it gets to this end, every time somebody recharges, it will remove a trophy from the available trophies there. Now everybody gets trophies when they make an achievement, and as soon as those trophies are gone, that triggers the end of the game. So you may not some of these trophies might just be removed to kind of speed up the game towards the end here if this recharge gets down to the end. So you want to kind of keep an eye on that. Things can end quicker than you might realize. After the end of the game, then you're going to count points. All of your cards have these little points. Anything that you see in red as end of game points, you'll get points along the way. Anytime you see a brown point value, that's something you'll receive along the way. But at the end of the game, you're getting points from your achievements, from all the cards you lay down, and then from any end cards that you have, you'll get points for those as well. And then whoever has the most points is the winner. Okay, that's a 5-minute summary. Let's go into a little bit more detail. I explained most of the worker placement. Just a couple other things that you should know. There are 2 different types of workers. There's your regular workers here that they're kind of these dinosaur type creatures, monstrous creatures, and they are always going to take up 2 spots. And then you're going to have one that has a rider on it, and that's your captain. And at first, it doesn't do anything different than the others. Because it's just the same type of worker as any other one. However, as soon as you get your first achievement, you unlock your special ability for your captain. So this is my captain, Helena. And as soon as I got my first achievement, which I did here, you can see I got this butterfly one by having some eggs and a butterfly out here that I was able to use to get 3 butterflies. That unlocked my ability. It gave me a net, and then now it let me place on mountains without paying any resources. Remember, when you place your workers, if they touch a mountain, if they overlap with a mountain, either with one of their spaces or 2 of their spaces, it doesn't matter. You have to pay 1 resource to go there. But in this case, my special power, when I use the captain worker, only when I use the captain worker, I can go on mountain spaces without having to pay. So I did that here, where I went here and I didn't have to pay any resources, and I still got all 3 of these connected ones. Other captains have different ones. This one, it will let you activate a special effect. This one will give you adjacent eggs or let you flip eggs back. They all do different things, but they don't unlock until you get that first achievement. So one of the things you're wanting to do in this game is try to build towards your first achievement, right? So even though in my case this butterfly achievement was only 6 points, because I only got 3 of them. If I'd got 7, I could have got 12 points. I wanted to get that as soon as possible so that I could get that first achievement and unlock that ability. That is something that's an immediate goal. See if you can get 1 achievement, whatever it might be, and it's usually going to be one of these tagged ones, and then you can unlock that ability. Another thing about placing workers, if you place a worker on top of an egg, you get that egg for free. So if I place my worker up here, then that dragon egg would come down directly on my board here. You can see along the board, this is where you store your eggs, and each of them have a little benefit that it gives you when you place an egg on that storage. So the next time I get an egg, I get to place it here, and I will gain any 1 resource. And then these are just getting points. This one lets me draw a card, and then mostly points. And then once you fill up, you can't put any more eggs here on your storage, but you can get 2 points when you get eggs, and then they just go away. They come unhatched, so on that type, and then they count as like a symbol of that animal. And then if you use that symbol to claim an achievement or do some of the cards will use them, then they flip over and they become hatched. And again, there are ways to unhatch them as well, so to speak. So if you place your worker directly on an egg, you get that egg. If you place it next to an egg, you can get that egg, but you have to use a net to do so. So if I placed my worker here, I could get this egg using a net. I also mentioned these little special powers whenever you see these little circles here. They do different things, like this one just gives you an extra coral. This one lets you unhatch an egg, flip an egg back to unhatched. This one lets you sweep and then take a card. So sweeping, there's two types of sweeping. One is sweep, the regular sweep, which you either sweep the left side or the right side. And then there are the double sweeps that you'll see up here. And that just takes all of the cards away and refills the wilderness, I believe they call it. Yeah, the wilderness. And then others do different things. This one here gives you 3 points. So this spot here, if you go next to it, I mean, you're not going to get any resources here, but you will get a net from it. So, or maybe if you went like this, you can get a net and a purple. And again, remember, when the ones that you're touching with your worker, ones you're adjacent to, you can either take the resource or take a card that matches that resource type. So in this case, I have 2 purple and an orange. I could take a purple, an orange, and then this card over here, or I could take this card and then this card and a purple. But I couldn't, but they have to be in the wilderness to take them, and they have to be the type that you're asking for. So that's a good way to get your cards, to refresh your cards as well. As you go along the point tracker, you are going to get certain benefits. And whenever you hit one of these discovery rewards, whenever anybody hits one of them, they get to choose one of these 3. And then they place it on any pond space. And it becomes a new spot that gives benefits, gives resources, and it's also has special abilities on them. In fact, a lot of times they're even better than the ones that are already there. If you place one of these discovery tiles on a lake that has an egg on it, you get that egg. So that might make your spots consider it, or make you consider where you put it. For me, I might consider putting it on a space like this where it's near mountains, since I can go on mountains for free and other people can't. So you're kind of looking for those opportunities that are going to provide you with better spots in the future for getting more resources. All right, that is basically everything around placing a worker. Let's talk about the different cards. So there are 5 different types of cards, and when you play them, they will go into the kind of 5 different sections for you. If you've ever played other creature tableau builders like Everdell, a lot of these are going to feel familiar, but we'll go over them anyway. And if you hover over any of them, they explain to you pretty well what the process is, or what the power is of that card. So the easiest ones are the ones with the lightning bolts, the brown banners here. These are instant abilities. So in this case, I play this and I gain a butterfly egg or insect egg. This person, when they play this, they got a card and then they got an egg of whatever card that was from the wilderness. They got it. You notice that these have been overlapped here. As soon as you play the card, there's nothing really that you need from it, but you do want to keep the tags here, like the animal tags, visible. But then, here you draw a card and then get an egg of its species. This one, the next card you play, costs 1 less resource. They do all sorts of different things. Almost all the cards do something a little bit different, but the instant ones are something that happen right away, and then you don't do it any more times. Here, look at the top 3 cards of the deck, place one, take one, and place the others, and then get the victory points for that's the score of that card. So you can see each of these cards have a score. So in that case, you would get the score as well. Right, those are the instantaneous ones. They're the most common cards that you will see in the decks here. Next, let's talk about the continuous cards. So these are ones with the blue and the little infinity symbol next to them. These are ongoing abilities, and they stay out and always visible because you will get points or actions that based on something happening all throughout the game. So this one that I played here, anytime I activate a recharge card, which we'll talk about in a minute, I get a point. Let's see if there's any others up here. I don't see any other ones currently, but yeah, they're not certainly not as common, but they're just gonna either a lot of times they'll give you points when something happens, or they'll make something happen easier, or maybe anytime you gain something you get an extra resource. They're all pretty straightforward, but it is an ongoing ability that's going to be triggered periodically. Since we're talking a little bit about the recharge one, we'll go through that here. So the recharge is similar to the infinite one, but it doesn't trigger all the time. It only triggers when you do the recharge action. That's when you pull your workers back, and it doesn't have to be when you don't have any workers left. That's usually when it's going to happen, but you could recharge ahead of time if you really need to run those recharge cards, or you have a good engine going with them. Maybe you just play one and then do recharge. So for instance, this one here, anytime I recharge, I get a resource that I have the least of, and then I get a point for every resource that has in there. So if I recharge now, well, all three of these are 0, so I would pick one, it would go up 1, and then I would get 1 victory point. But I've got this little combo here so that when I do this recharge, then I get an extra point as well. And if I keep building more recharge cards every time I do a recharge, I could get a whole bunch of points based on that. So you're looking for these little combos that are on their cards that are going to give you points, resources, and more. There are ways to trigger recharge cards without doing the recharge action. Whenever you see, I think we saw it here, like this one here, the special effect, you can pay a net to activate a recharge card in your reserve. So, and then you pick which one. There's a benefit over here that will activate all your recharge cards when you trigger it. So there are different ways to trigger these, but the most common is when you do the recharge where you pull back your workers. The next one is kind of the trickiest one, but it's not too bad. And this is an ongoing ability, but you have to use a resource to do it. And these are the energy cards. So each energy card has a number of energy on the side. This one had 2. So when you play it, you start with 2 energy. Then anytime you want, not as part of your turn, it doesn't have to be on a turn that you're playing cards, it's a free action, you can use one of these energies to trigger this card. This one specifically, when I use an energy, then I take the top card from the deck, and then I can either take the egg that the species is, I can take the resource that the species is, or I can take the number of points that the card is. And I also get the card. So whenever I want to, if I'm just looking for, I just need an extra egg or I need an extra resource, maybe I'll try this. And you can't do more than one on the same card per turn, but you could do multiple energy cards per turn. However, once those energy are out, you can no longer use this card unless you refill it somehow. There are some ways to refill it, like this benefit over here lets you take an energy card and refill it back to its full, which is in this case 2. I believe I had another energy card here. Right, this one, it only gives you 1, but it is pretty powerful because it basically lets you use that energy to play either from your hand or from the wilderness directly an end card for free. End cards are the end of point cards, so that's kind of nice to just have in your reserve here, and then when you see that perfect card come up, no matter what your turn is, you can use that energy, boom, play that card. So that can be pretty helpful, but again, it costs 4 resources, so and only gives you 1 point at the end. So it's something you want to, use wisely, for instance. But there's all sorts of ones that do it, but they all have an energy, and then they have some sort of ability that you can do when you spend that energy. And there are ways to refill that energy by getting certain benefits. And then finally, there are the end cards. These are always points at the end of the game. They don't usually have points for themselves. You can see in this case, there's no points for the card itself, but it does give you 1 point for every for any crustacean in your reserve. And it also, and you can see here, it's got the gray on it. That means that you can use hatched eggs. That'll give you points for those hatched eggs as well as just your regular. So this player has already got a nice little crab engine going where they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 crab icons visible, and this card is going to be worth 5 points at the end of the game, and it can continue to gain value as they add more of that tag. This is a similar one, but with the reptile tag. So those are the typical types of those end game cards. Is you get points for something certain. It may be a certain tag, like a certain animal tag, a certain habitat type, a certain just regular type of card, like a point for every instant card you have, for example, or every recharge card you have. But they will give you some sort of way to score points at the end of the game. Those are the 5 types of cards. There's no limit to how many cards you can have in your reserve. You're going to end up with quite a few by the end of the game. And a lot of them are going to be these instants, but some, if you can really start to build up an engine, that can really start to spiral and get you lots of good resources and ways to continue to add more cards and get more points by the end of the game. All right, the claiming of an achievement that takes a full turn. It's not just you get it as soon as you have it. You have to use a turn to claim the achievement. And when you do so, you take one of your little markers over here. You can pick which one. I picked this top one. You get the benefit that's shown here. So this is 2 of any resource, 2 cards, 3 points, a net. We talked about refilling a recharge refilling an energy card or triggering all your recharges. Those, you'll want to time those when they work the best, but before you use those, but those are good ones to use as well. If you really don't want those benefits, you can always just take 2 points. Then you will place it on the space that you have, and it will give you points at the end of the game, and it will give you a trophy. You can see that how many trophies remain. Where this is a 4-player game, so I believe there are 16 trophies total. And the trophy by itself, the trophy is really just a way to time the game, but there are cards that will give you points for trophies. Really what you're getting points for is when you place them on, you get those red points for it. I mentioned earlier that in this case, I got the smaller trophy just so I could get it quickly and so I could unlock my captain ability. But for some of these other ones, maybe I'm going to want to build up that a bit. If I'm going to do crabs, I'll maybe try to get the 7 crabs so I can get the 12 points. However, if somebody's in a spot, nobody else can go there, and we have 4 players, and there's only 3 spots on each of these. So that might, that you may miss opportunities to go to that if you wait too long. Now, BGA has this really nice thing where when you hover over it, it shows you the progress of each player of that particular type. So you can see this person got the blue here got the 5, but they're the other 2 players both have 1, and so they've made some progress on that, whereas this one, a few people have 3 of this type and could get that 4th trophy if they want, or maybe they're saving up to get it a couple of extra. So that's pretty helpful. You're always going to have 4 or some number of these that are based on tags, either individual tags or combination of tags. And then you're going to have some that are just general ones. So in this case, this one is just having 14 creature cards in your area. This one is, and these ones are first come, first serve in terms of the highest points. So the first person to get 14 will get that top one, which gives them 15 points, and second will get 12 and 9 and so forth. This one here is getting 10 of the same species, of any type of species, including unhatched eggs. And again, when you use the eggs for an achievement, they do flip over and hatch. So you can't like use them over here and then quickly use them over here as well. And then this one is having 2 of each type of card. So having a full set of every of the 5 types of cards, and having that twice. And so on your turn, you would claim one of these, get the benefit of it, and you don't get those points immediately. Those come at the end of the game, but you also get the trophy, which starts towards the end of the game too. I mentioned the discovery benefit along the way. There are other benefits like getting nets, or if you pass 30 or 50, you also get another trophy. Again, unless you have a card that specifically gives you points for it, the trophy is really just a timer for the game, but it's an important one, so you can, want to keep track of how many are remaining. Also, you'll notice these are the different types of eggs. Once a certain type of egg is gone, it is gone. So there are currently only 4 crab eggs left. And once those are gone, then there's no other way to get those crab eggs. Even if you play a card that tells you, hey, you get a certain type of egg, you just can't because it's not available. All right, that's doing the achievement. And then the final action is the recharge we talked a little bit about. That's where you pull your workers back and you move this forward and you get some sort of benefit on it. Usually you get at least a net, and then sometimes you will sweep. Like I said, the double sweep sweeps all of the wilderness and refills it. A single sweep would just do half of it. And then whenever you hit one of these egg tokens, there'll be, BGA is going to do it for you, but it's going to fill out some more eggs based on these little symbols here. So it'll randomly draw eggs from the bag to fill all of a certain symbol. You really don't need to worry about that. Just know that as soon as somebody hits one of these eggs, or one of these egg symbols and these time tokens, there'll be a bunch more eggs on the map. So you may want to time that out so that you then are ready to put another worker out and collect those eggs if you really need them. BGA does a really nice job of tracking all of the different tags, different resources. You can have up to 3 nets, for example. Here it shows, let's look closer. We've got all the different things. So I can see my player number, my 4 different resources, and how many I have. You can have up to 6. You can't have more than that. So if you would gain it, it just doesn't do anything. You can have up to 3 nets. I think for nets, if you would gain an extra net, it would just give you a point instead. So it's okay to keep collecting nets. It would just give you points, but you can't store more than 3. And then let's see, it shows you all the different, how many trophies you have, how many of each of the different tags you have. There are 7 different tags of the creature types. Here are the different habitat types that you played out that can come into effect. And then here are the different card types that you've played out. And so you can track that amongst the various players, because again, you guys are racing for these achievements. And if you can get there before someone else, then that might make the difference in the points that you get. All right, I believe that is it. Again, a lot of it comes down to the different cards and their abilities and the way they interact with each other. The manual, if you want to download the manual, will actually have more details on individual cards based on that number. So you see number 33, this one's 34, this one's 80, and there's like a index that kind of goes into more detail of each of the cards and what they do, especially if they're a little more complicated. Like for instance, I looked this up because I wasn't sure what would happen if they were all tied for 0. You don't get one of each, you just pick which one, and then you get that least amount moved up and then get the number of resources from it. And it gives you examples and such too. At the end of the game, you're going to total up points. You get points anytime you see any red points that you see, so you're going to get a lot of points from the cards themselves. You will get points from your end cards. You get points from your achievements that you've received. You'll have received points along the way. And yeah, those are the main ways that you're going to receive points. Whoever has the most points is the winner. All right, I hope that was helpful. This was Wondrous Creatures on Board Game Arena. Thanks.